Y'all listen to this.
Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
So in other words, reparations for white people. Any comments on that, Trump likes?
Folks, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I think there's going to be a lot of days like this in the Trump administration in the next 4 years. I'm not making this up. Trump just announced that he's for reparations for white people. Yep, that's right, because white people have been so oppressed, right? He says he will ask the Justice Department to penalize colleges that consider diversity, equity, and inclusion and fine them so he can pay restitution to white people, his base, who considers the real victims of racial discrimination. That's right, because the real victims of racial discrimination are white people, right? They're not black people or brown people or minorities in this country. Let me ask you all a question. I'm white. I don't think I've ever been the victim because of the color of my skin. Have you? Have you? I mean, do any of these people have black friends, minorities that are friends? I just think this is Project 2025 on steroids, and this is what we're going to see from Donald Trump over the next several years.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We have to talk about the new cope from the left, because that is what this is. This is a whole lot of cope here over the fact that Trump not only beat Kamala Harris in a landslide during this election, but also a lot of black people showed up to vote for Trump in the key swing states like Georgia and Wisconsin, and even in Texas. You had a lot of black people, black men more specifically, show up and vote for Trump. So what they're trying to do is that they're trying to create some type of buyer's remorse. Okay, this is what the left is trying to do. This is a new propaganda. And they're doing that with each minority group that decided to vote for Trump. Like, for example, Latinos, they're trying to say, oh, well, see, Trump was serious about mass deportations, and your family members might get deported. See, don't you feel dumb? You should be regretting what you voted for, right? This is what they're trying to do. This is the type of propaganda they're putting out there, right? So for black folks, what they're trying to do is to say, well, Trump is now going to give reparations to white people, right? This is what they're putting out there, okay? Trump is giving reparations to white people. Now, on his face, this sounds silly, right? But it's going to sound even sillier once you hear what Trump actually said, and then you listen to what the propagandists are trying to spin what he said into. You're going to see that a lot of these people clearly lack listening comprehension skills. And at this point, it's really not about what Trump says. It's about the fact that these people, they just want to fearmonger about everything that Trump is doing because they just really want people to regret voting for Trump.
Oh my gosh, Donald Trump wants reparations for white people?
And getting their money's worth. Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination.
Reparations, but for white people. This is America. You voted for it.
Y'all remember when 45, who will soon be 47, said he was going to dismantle the Department of Education? Well, there's a video going around showing that he's going to provide restitution to those families who have been impacted by DEI. Remember all of y'all that said that they couldn't vote for Kamala Harris because she would not give black people reparations? Remember that? And remember how I posted that video that's still up from 4 years ago where the GOP said that they will never give reparations to black people because they themselves never owned slaves? Guess where they about to find reparations for white people from? Oh, it just gets dumber and dumber.
Tuition costs at colleges and universities have been exploding, and I mean absolutely exploding, while academics have been obsessed with indoctrinating America's youth. The time has come to reclaim our once great educational institutions from the radical left, and we will do that. Our secret weapon will be the college accreditation system. It's called accreditation for a reason. The accreditors are supposed to ensure that schools are not ripping off students and taxpayers, but they have failed totally. When I return to the White House, I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. We will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges once again and once and for all. These standards will include defending the American tradition and Western civilization, protecting free speech, eliminating wasteful administrative positions that drive up costs incredibly, removing all Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucrats, offering options for accelerated and low-cost degrees, providing meaningful job placement and career services, and implementing college entrance and exit exams to prove that students are actually learning and getting their money's worth. Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies, policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
See, I have to make a post and respond to stupid stuff like this because it's almost like you guys don't have any education skills. Where in that whole speech did you get reparations for white people? First of all, when he says equity, that is white people complaining about racial discriminatory education, about DEI being taught in school, slavery being taught in school. So if white people could complain that their kids are being harmed because they're learning about white history, not just black history, but white history, and how they brought us over here on slave ships to build this country up and then treat us like shit. But then you say you don't understand. What is it that you don't understand? So you guys could ask for, he's going to give you restitution based on the money he won't give schools that teach DEI and equity, so that you guys can get restitution because your feelings are hurt because they're teaching y'all's history in school. This is America, when people just get to act so stupid and don't understand common sense, but we get treated like shit. The fuck?
Yeah. So the fake outrage from the left over that announcement from Trump really shows you how they are lacking listening comprehension skills, right? Which is why we need our education system to be revamped from top to bottom, okay? Which it sounds to me like that's something that Trump wants to do, right? And in fact, I think that Trump should have talked more about education during his campaign. I mean, he won regardless, but I'm just saying, education is probably one of the biggest issues in this country because clearly as a society, we're getting dumber, right? Again, especially when it comes to listening comprehension, because nowhere in that announcement did Trump say he was giving reparations to white people. In fact, he said things that the race hustlers should agree with. He said, well, I am going to instruct the Department of Justice to pursue civil rights cases against these colleges that engage in racial discrimination. Now, all of these race hustlers, they claim that there's so much racism out here against blacks. You would think that if Trump is directing the Department of Justice to go after racism and black people, these black liberals are claiming that racism is so prevalent, okay, that the country is systemically racist, you would think they would be happy about this, right? You would think that they would interpret this in a way that's actually a positive for black people who claim that they're always being discriminated against. But no. The interpretation that they got out of that is that no, Trump is trying to give whites reparations, right? Like, for example, Keith Boykins, aka Keith Moiskin, right? That's my new nickname for him. He says, Trump announces reparations for white people. He says he will ask the Department of Justice to penalize colleges that consider diversity, equity, and inclusion and fine them so he can pay restitution to white people who he considers to be the real victims of racial discrimination. Now, nowhere in his announcement did he say white people. In fact, if what he's referring to is the racial discrimination against Asians as a result of affirmative action, because that is essentially the group of people who are affected the most, disproportionately affected the most, that is, then what he actually would mean is that, well, colleges that continue to discriminate by trying to do affirmative action in disguise, which some colleges have essentially indicated that that's what they're going to do, right? They're telling kids that, hey, you know, let us know about your race, right? Make sure you write about how hard it is to be a so-called minority in your college application, right? So again, they're trying to do it in disguise. And he's basically saying, listen, for colleges that continue to engage in racial discrimination, then, hey, we're going to go after them, right? We're going to have them pay restitution to the victims. Now, again, I find it to be fascinating how these individuals are all for restitution to the victims of discrimination and racism, except when the racism and discrimination is not primarily towards blacks, right? When black people are benefiting from the racism and discrimination, oh, now all of a sudden they're against reparation/restitution, right? But when it's the Asians and the whites that would benefit the most from the restitution, right, due to racial discrimination, oh, now all of a sudden they're against it, right? Again, it's amazing how that works. It's amazing how that works, okay? It seems as if these race hustlers aren't actually fighting for racial equality. They're fighting for racial superiority, okay? So more of these people online are outraged. They're saying, Trump is about to pay reparations to white people who have suffered, quote, racial discrimination due to diversity initiatives in higher education. This is exactly why ideas such as black people can be racist towards whites have to be shut down. They're about to institutionalize that. Liberal propagandist Brooklyn Dad says, wow, the same energy behind a movement to remove slavery from American history because it hurt white people's feelings now seeks to pay effing restitution to white people before blacks receive 1 penny of reparations. That's some BS. Tim Wise says, so a nation that never paid reparations to the victim of white racism will now, if Trump gets his way, pay restitution to white people injured by diversity training. Typical, just like enslavers were given more restitution for lost property than the enslaved ever were. These people are so salty. And it's hilarious because what they're really mad about is Trump straight up saying, hey, we're going to fight racial discrimination. But again, they don't like fighting racial discrimination when it doesn't benefit black people, right? But when it does benefit black people, they love it, okay? However, when it doesn't benefit black people, all of a sudden they hate it. Again, it's hilarious how that works. Like I said, it shows you they're not for racial equality. They're for racial superiority, right? That's what they really want. Anonymous says the 16% of black voters for Trump watching him announce reparations for white people victimized by school diversity policy. Yeah, so like I said, I think that a significant portion of the population needs to improve their listening comprehension skills. And this is why we must revamp the education system, okay? Our education system has gotten worse and worse and worse and more expensive over time. And that just doesn't make sense, right? We cannot be spending so much money on education just to get subpar results. We're falling behind the rest of the world. And as you can see here, the interpretation of what Trump said by these individuals is, again, a sign of a failing education system where people don't know how to listen, right? Because if you actually listen to what Trump said, he said nothing about reparations for white people. But that's the way that these people interpret it. And it really shows you everything that these people are about, right? When it comes to how they aren't really fighting for racial equality at all. They don't want to be equal. They don't want to be colorblind. No. They want special rights and privileges, okay? Because Trump is saying, no, let's actually have racial equality. Let's not discriminate against anybody when it comes to college admissions or when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, hiring, any of those things. They're upset. They're pissed off. They're pissed off because Trump is trying to end discrimination in higher education. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So again, they're trying to create this whole voters remorse thing where they're trying to tell each group of people, hey, don't you regret voting for Trump already? Even though the guy is not in office, right? He's not in office yet. And they're trying to get people to regret voting for him. And I just do not think that is going to work. I really don't. Okay. So yeah, they can continue to boohoo, whine, and cry. But the boohoo, whine, and crying really shows you what these people are about. These people are the modern day racists. They're fighting to maintain a system of racism in this country, and they're showing you that almost every single day. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.